But instead of getting sucked into that, for now, let's turn to a different diplomatic hotspot, Hong Kong. It is the city equivalent of using Hulu with your ex-boyfriend's account, in that it's basically free, but that could change at any minute. For weeks now, Hong Kong has been in a state of upheaval.
This morning, Hong Kong near the brink after a day of violence that shut one of the world's busiest airports for a second day in a row. International travellers caught in the standoff, with hundreds of flights cancelled as luggage carts blocked passengers pleading with protesters to make their flights.
Hey guys, come on. Come on, you're being really selfish now.
Oh. I get that he's frustrated, but he's in a really tough spot there. Come on, guys, I need to catch my flight. Can you tone down your fight for democracy for a bit? Like, I'm not saying don't try to maintain your fragile grasp on freedom, but could you just take it down a couple of notches so I can get to my gate? Come on, guys, you're being selfish. The protests initially began over a bill that would have allowed China to extradite Hong Kong citizens to the mainland, which opponents feared were part of a larger plan to undermine Hong Kong's autonomy. And the protesters have been very resourceful, using umbrellas as shields and lasers to disorient police, and circumventing a prohibition against marches by organising them on apps like Tinder, which is fantastic news for anyone in Hong Kong struggling to explain to a significant other what they were doing looking at Tinder. I was recruiting protesters. Yeah, female protesters aged 24 to 29, interested in public sex threesomes and ass play. That's really what this movement is all about, right? Now, in response, the Chinese government has been flexing its muscles, moving armoured personnel carriers to the border and escalating their rhetoric, claiming protesters show signs of terrorism. And within China, state media has framed the protest as the work of foreign forces, and one force in particular.
There are more and more indications showing that there are certain extraterritorial forces who played a horrible role in this chaos. There are pictures of foreign agents giving protesters money, encouraging them to mold public opinion. Who are they? It's fair to say the CIA has spent over 70 years plotting in Hong Kong.
Look, no one is saying the CIA does not have a long, shitty history of meddling in other countries' politics. It's helped overthrow the Iranian government and reinstall the Shah, it sponsored the Bay of Pigs invasion, and it created the show Paw Patrol to brainwash the planet's toddlers with an authoritarian worldview. Yes, it did all of those things, but all indications are that what is happening in Hong Kong is local and the result of long-simmering internal tensions. And if this is an American plot, one thing is for sure, nobody told the president, because Trump not only barely seems aware of what's going on there, he also essentially gave China a green light to do whatever they want, like when he said this at the start of the month.
Well, something's probably happening with Hong Kong, because when you look at, what's going on, they've had riots for a long period of time, and I don't know what China's attitude is. Somebody said that at some point they're going to want to stop that, but that's between Hong Kong and that's between China, because Hong Kong is a part of China. They'll have to deal with that themselves. They don't need advice.
Nailed it. And look, somehow there's both a lot and nothing to unpack there, but I will say this. They're going to want to stop that is exactly the wrong message to send to China right now. Anything would have been better than that. If he'd said, what do I think of Hong Kong? Well, it's strong, it's angry, and I don't like when it throws barrels at Mario. I'd think, OK, you're clearly thinking of Donkey Kong, not Hong Kong, but at least you didn't wink at the possible use of force, so no harm done there. And Trump effectively giving China a tacit endorsement to use force against protesters is unfortunately not remotely surprising. He sends the wrong signals to other countries all the time. And until his term ends, we're all just going to have to live with the fact that we now have a president who looks at America's allies and says, go fuck yourselves, looks at Russian interference in our elections and says, no big deal, and looks at Greenland and says, $200 plus Don Jr., final offer.